Hi, I'm going to talk about specifically what can you do to be a better detective in the fictional world of novels or TV shows or films. And these three things will help you along. And I'm actually someone who figured out I will not play favoritism. I won't say which shows, etc. But many awesome whodunit shows I figured out with 90% plus confidence before the climax scene in which uh, which who the killer is revealed at the end. Um, I say 90% plus confidence because not all the time I'm 100% sure. But, well, maybe it's a good instinct. I'm not sure. So I felt the need, the drive to explain my thought process when it comes to like figuring out who the bad guys are, etc. And you know how like one scene or character or a dialogue that didn't seem important earlier on and then became very important later on, right? So think about it. If such is the case, what is the possibility that we can catch on to these depends on our observations skills, and I believe everyone has it. But here's the tricky part. I kind of learned this from Sherlock, like fictional. Well, depends on which version you've seen or be most familiar with. But just Sherlock, who's like very observant and fitting all kinds of pieces together in such an elaborate way in terms of like putting together a logic sequence in which you can figure out what's really going on. And I think he's good at like actually, you know what? I'm gonna credit him, the fictional, whether it's like the TV show version or movie, is that there's three top things that one must do to be a good detective, I believe. Number one is good observation skills. But this will tie into number three. I'll explain later. Good observation skills, easier said than done. Many people don't miss on things I miss out on, and vice versa. So we're all different. It really depends. It doesn't matter, like IQ level, whatever, right? Everyone's capable of doing it, and everyone can make mistakes. And observation is more like collecting facts. Like in terms of like storytelling, we try to piece together things to solve, right? But then to piece them together, we need to know the pieces. We need to really look out for anomalies or like, well, why is that person saying that dialogue at this moment? Why is that person look so surprised when that person showed up? Is it because that person wasn't supposed to be there, or is it because the person really know for sure that that person wouldn't have showed up, right? And I think this is going to be a very important part of like being a good detective, like being observant and noticing how the characters reacted to one another, their expressions, their own thought processes. What did they do before that, and why would they go out of their way to explain something so elaboratively, right? Are they trying to attract attention or diverting attention? So like these are like observation skills. I won't say skills. Yeah, it's skills actually. Sorry. It's like the more you do, the better you are at it. Like 10 people look into a room, and if 10 of them are sleep deprived, they won't even notice all the details as much as the other five who are not sleep deprived, right? And so like it's also state of mind, so it's not just skills. And I believe like we, as long as we keep practicing, we can be better at observing. And then this comes to my second top tip, like indirectly inspired, actually fully inspired by Sherlock. It's logic thinking. um, Logic, it takes experience, right? It's not like if you don't know like if you don't know what's blanks, like gun, blanks, like shooting blanks, like no bullets coming out or something. Like if you don't know that, it will come as a shock, right? Like so. Knowing more facts can help your sense of logic, right? Because logic is a way of like piecing together uh, of different components of a puzzle, and then you try to figure things out. And you can do that because you're able to know, hey, how does these things fit in one another? And logic is really heavily based on knowledge. Like you need to know, like, I don't know, just a wild guess, chemistry, math, even like certain basic physiology. When it's specifically coming down to like figuring out to like who's the killer, etc. Like when someone's a corpse, you try to figure out, hey, like how does that person look like in the coffin? Is he super pale? Is he like drained of blood or something like that? Like sorry, went so dark there, but so like that, like I heard something like I need to. I tried to verify this, and along the lines, it's been agreed to by certain online information, and sometimes it's not. And I keep hearing about this. Like if you lose 1/4 of all the blood in your body, you will faint or consciousness, and if you lose 1/3 of all your blood in your body, you will, God forbid, if that happens to anyone, they die. And these are knowledge, right? Like the more you know about life in general, etc., the more it can serve your anyone have logical sense, right? Like through practice, through experience, and then once you know lots of facts, you can use the sense of good logic, which is based on good foundation of understanding a lot of things, knowledge. So a good logical mind would fit things together to make a complete story that makes sense, irregardless of any anomaly facts or like anything that can make you go like, hey, there's a bullet hole in the logic story of what's going on. You know how like detectives at the end of the scene explains everything and fit everything together? That's logic. It's creative. It needs a sense of creativity, but logic is like more like it guides and tames the creativeness to approach solution, and logic can serve you in terms of finding out who's the killer by piecing all these facts together in such a way that no one fact alone can defy the collected facts that are turned into a conclusion. And this leads to number 3. Number 3 is you need to have a good way of thinking. And there's one thing out of many ways of thinking that I believe will help you lead you to the answer. And that is not desensitizing any scene or any dialogue or any character. None. I say this because I repetitively realized at the end of the movie, I didn't think of these important scenes in the earlier of the film to be that super important in terms of like figuring out who the killer is, right? But then at the end of the film, it's like, oh my gosh, it makes me think of it through either flashback or just explanations by the characters, and they explain how it all fits and plays in. So you don't desensitize any clues, any scenes in the earlier parts of the films. But it's hard to recognize. Sometimes it's so like seems to be so not important. It's like it could be someone picking up a cup of tea with their left hand, and the corpse have a bullet hole from the left side of the body, or right side if you attack from the behind, if you can follow. But you get what I mean? Like all these little things that doesn't seem important, like whatever, a person picking up a cup of tea with their left hand maybe more suspicious than the other way around, because right-handed is more dominant. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry, picking up all these little pieces and never ever desensitizing how important any scenes are, and that's one way of thinking. Thank you for hearing me, and I hope you enjoyed it. And Godspeed, 2023. Thank you.